These are what I find personally to be the best Optimus Prime figures that have come out recently, and even some that are just really weird. Starting with Reactivate Optimus Prime, this figure is just amazing.
Sugoi.
He looks so good. I really like the way he looks. He is really up there as one of the best looking Optimus Prime figures. He is G1 inspired because for some reason that's all Optimus can be nowadays. I really liked it when they tried out new designs like in the Unicron trilogy, but at the same time this is really good and I do like the stylization. This piece is a little loose, however. He has a slightly more bulky appearance than some other Optimus Primes. Well, maybe except for this one. His red and blue are a bit on the darker side, and he does have some silver paint applications throughout him, which really help accentuate the figure. Looking at some supposed concept art for this figure, it does seem to be pretty accurate. Now, will the game be any good? I don't have my hopes up for that. I can't get over how good this figure looks. This is a robot you would call daddy. Going straight into the head, the sculpt is really good, and the little details are nicely defined. The mouth plate looks really nice. I do like all the little designs they added onto there. It's not my favorite head sculpt, as I do think the eyes are a little bit too tiny. There is some light blue paint in there for them. Not the best Optimus Prime head sculpt, but a really good one. For its articulation, it can move up and down, and you do get a full 360 rotation and a tilt. You can also utilize this for some movement. Now, I really like the way his shoulders look. Very stylized, and I feel like the silver bit just really adds to the look. And then we have the classic Autobot insignia on the shoulders as always on both sides. The smokestacks are done really well and painted in that nice silver. Unfortunately for the arms, we do have some ugly gaps over here, meaning we need to throw this figure into a lava pit because it is now worthless. The gaps are really ugly and really do detract from what is an amazing figure. Now the rest of the arms look really nice, very bulky and bold, which does fit Optimus Prime. The sculpt on here is done really well. You don't really get any insane amounts of detail on it, maybe this part on the back here, which is mainly for the vehicle mode. Now what is really nice is that these bits do fold out for the vehicle mode and basically form part of the truck mode, and I like how they seamlessly just integrate into the robot mode. That is really nice. We can spin this a full 360, we can bring this up all the way over there, bicep rotation, and elbow bend. A disappointing only 90-degree elbow bend. There's only a single joint on this despite this being a Voyager class figure, and sometimes they tend to have double hinges for the elbow bend. For example, this Studio Series, wait no, that's a knockoff. For example, this Studio Series Optimus Prime does have a double hinge for the elbows over here as well as over here. A 90-degree elbow bend on a Voyager class figure is more disappointing than this year's presidential election. Ooh, we're talking about politics again. And now he has hands for holding things. They do look nice. They're nice hands. Very solid looking hands. They can rotate. Okay, moving on. Now the chest, his big old boobies, his man boobs, they're nice. We have those truck lights at the top, and despite being so tiny, I appreciate how they are painted in silver. It could have been something that was easily missed. Further down, we get the classic Optimus style chest areas, some nice detail on the sides over here, some transparent windows through where you can see something interesting. We will get to that. A tiny detail I like always are the windshield wipers they add. Another thing that could have been easily forgotten, but I think pretty much every G1 style Prime has this. Now back to the chest area. It's nice, but there is something kind of flawed about it. So all of this is paint. And if you don't believe me, we can open this up. And as you can see through the plastic, this side is just entirely painted. And since it is a translucent plastic piece, I do recommend being careful with it. But now since we do have this opened, let's take a look at the matrix. Yes, you can take this out. It is a pretty standard looking matrix. The same as some prior releases we've seen on Optimus Prime figures. It does seem like the paint job on mine is kind of sloppy, and the matrix chamber inside him does have some details. Nothing too fancy though. There's also a 5mm port in here, which is interesting. So if you wanted to do this for some reason, you could do that. I don't know why you would. Where did I put the matrix? Oh, there it is. Put that in there. Now once again, this area is just a tiny bit loose, which I do kind of find to be a little bit annoying, but it doesn't seem like it's that big of a hindrance, at least at the moment. Now the abdomen area looks pretty good with those silver paint applications, and I really like the layered look it has. The entire sculpt work just all over here is done so well. Now if we lick the arms, now if we lift the arms, we will see some weird battle damage stuff over here that I do not like. I will talk about this more in the vehicle mode, but it does look very ugly when the rest of the figure has a more pristine and clean look to it. Also, what is up with my thumb? How did that get there? This is recent. I have hours of footage of my hands. Well, I hope I don't have skin cancer. Now down here we do get waist rotation. It does run into these back pieces over here, which kind of feels like a major design flaw. So don't go around spinning it like all the way because this might just break. Now down to the legs. Luckily, the legs here don't have any hollow sections. Thank God. And the rest of the legs do look really nice, very chunky. And there is a little bit of nice detail all throughout it. I don't like this little nub mark over there though. But anyways, back again. Yeah, I do like a whole lot of the details on here. The wheels are back here. And also another thing I like are these gap fillers at the back for the robot mode. I appreciate they didn't just leave it like this because that does look kind of ugly and would make the figure feel a little bit cheap. Also, I do like how there's some detail inside here. Very nice stuff. Good job, Hasbro.
Now, if only my Armada Prime didn't come with a scratch.
Leg articulation out to the side. We can bring it forward. Leg rotation can go back all the way over there. Once again, just be careful of that. A knee bend, a very good knee bend actually. In fact, if we were to move this out of the way, we can move it a little bit more like that. But then we get this piece sticking out and that looks ugly. His leg does also bend in a little bit, which is kind of annoying. And down to the feet, these do hinge out for a pivot, but there is no back and forth movement.
That did kind of hinder some of the posing for me.
Now turning the figure over to the back, it is kind of messy here. It's not too bad. I think they did the best they could with what they got. What I do like are some of these thruster details underneath. That is really cool, and they show up in the vehicle mode. I am wondering if this is just for aesthetics or if they do get used in the game to help him like jump or something. Also, we get some really nice spinal detail back here that also has this nice layered look to it, and I do like how the wheels are tucked away in the back. And coming down here, I do not like how these grill bits are sticking out.
They're meant for the sides of the truck mode.
As you saw earlier, it does hinder some of the articulation, especially for the waist and legs. Just be careful with it so it doesn't break.
Only an idiot would break their figures. I am that idiot.
Honestly, this figure is just so good looking. Let's take a look at Optimus Prime's accessories. We did already talk about his matrix of leadership, but in addition to that, he gets an ion blaster as always and an energon axe.
You have my sword.
And my axe.
Now the energon axe is really interesting to me.
His axe is always usually a bright orange color,
but instead this one has a lot of black in it, and there's like a lot of it at the bottom. And then you get some like outlined over here, which these are some nice designs, but this is a very interesting choice. You simply put it on the figure like so, and from the front it does look nice. But when you turn it over to the back, it kind of falls apart. I don't really like that. And if you don't have it posed from the right angle, it's just gonna look really bad like that. I kind of wish it was like bulkheads thing, which would open up and then you put it on the figure and then you can close it. It's not going to work on this, but you get the point. That's how it works on Legacy Bulk. Please come out. It's stuck in there now. Oh God. Now we get his classic Ion Blaster, and this is a really nice sculpt for an Ion Blaster. This appears to be a very new sculpt, and I do like all the tiny designs going on through it. Luckily, this one looks great on both sides. It is in a nice matte black color. Now my only problem with this is that it doesn't hold very well. We can put it on him, but the grip is pretty loose. The handle needs to be a lot longer so it could fit in there better, and this arm piece does kind of get in the way. If this was a bit longer, things would be a lot better.
That's what I say to myself every day.
Now I think it might be fun to compare this figure to Optimus Prime from the War for Cybertron Studio Series release.
Reactivate Optimus kind of towers over War for Cybertron Optimus.
I do genuinely like both of these figures, but holding them side by side, I think this one is a lot better. The plastic quality on this one does feel a bit cheap, and there is a bit of looseness to him. I have done a review on this. One thing I really like about this over this is I genuinely think the matrix chamber in here looks so much better than the one here, but this could be how it's like in the game, so I can't really say much there. We don't know at this point, and I do like how they decided to give this his own matrix instead of just reusing an older matrix. Also, this just came off when I tried to close that. That's great. That's another thing. Genuinely, quality-wise, I think this figure is so much better, and design-wise, they're both entirely different. I'm kind of leaning towards this. That's personal preference, but in terms of quality, I'm thinking this is the better figure. Also, in terms of kibble management, there's really not a whole lot of kibble on here. It's mainly like in the back area, while over here we have some ugly kibble bits on the legs. Comparing him alongside the Studio Series Rise of the Beast figure, you can see a lot of the similarities in designs between the two because they are both inspired by G1 Optimus, so there's no surprise there. Height-wise, Reactivate Optimus is slightly taller.
And for another comparison, here he is next to the Volvo Optimus. As you can see, Reactivate Prime is pretty tall, but compared to the optional girl, everyone is a twink.
Now, to transform this figure, the instructions recommend doing the back piece first, but I personally do not recommend that. So I basically feel like if you do the legs first, that makes the rest of the transformation much easier, because when you pull this out for the transformation, it does get in the way of the legs, and that can make things kind of a hassle. So the first thing I recommend doing is pivoting in the feet just as far as they can go. Next, we can turn over, open up these gap fillers, and then rotate the leg all the way around, bring that foot in, close that gap filler, do the exact same thing with this leg, bring that all the way around, bring that foot in, close that gap filler. Now we can combine the legs legs and tab them together. The feet don't have a tab or anything. They just kind of rest in place. Come to these fuel tanks on the side and just close them in like so. Now the instructions say to T-pose him. Now we can grab this piece, pull it out, unfold that all the way, and there's another piece in here that we can unfold. And there is some nice detail in here. Grab the rest of this and bring it down. And as you can see, that would get annoying when trying to do the legs, which is why I recommend doing the legs first.
Fold out these pieces all the way on both sides.
And these are also pieces that get really annoying
because they do get in the way of the transformation.
Open up his chest and take this piece out. Flip out these panels on the side for both of them. We can just kind of let that rest there for now. Let's bring this up, take his head and bring it back in there.
Bring the front up.
Take this out as well as this.
Rotate them around and connect them.
Now for the arms, we can unfold this and bring that out.
These can be a little difficult to get at.
Take it out, rotate the arm, bring that in.
Once again, rotate the arm, bring this in, swing the arm back here, and then kind of fiddle with it until you can bring it down to the side. We also want to make sure this is in front of the exhaust pipe.
But now we can just adjust this, make sure that is tabbed in. Come to the other side and do the exact same thing. Bring that all the way in there and make sure it's tabbed into place. Now we can adjust the front of the truck mode and get that in there and make sure everything is lined up. And here is the truck mode for Optimus Prime. And there's the truck mode for Optimus Prime. I found it to be a pretty straightforward transformation. It was just the front cap part was a little bit wonky because of all the pieces kind of getting in the way. But in the end, you do get something that looks pretty spectacular. This is a fantastic looking truck mode. The truck bed is pretty flat, done incredibly well. This piece sticking out does seem kind of awkward. It might be game accurate though. Once again, I do like these thrusters out on the side. The entire cab of the truck looks really good. This is kind of like an armored Optimus Prime look, and I really do like that. You can still see his matrix poking through. We have these ports on the side for some weapon storage. This whole front of the cab mode looks really good from the side as well as the front. Just looking at it from the side, it looks really nice. Not a whole lot of detail. Here's a quick look at the top. The front is where it looks really sick, and a quick look at the other side. And from the underneath, it does look pretty good. A few things I do like about the transformation steps are how the legs are done and how they just kind of fold in. Another thing I like is how this grill piece is folded up and into the chest for the robot mode. And from the front, he is looking just so good. Now, a few things I don't like. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a port or anything for adding a trailer. I mean, you can just kind of like rest it on there, but that's not really gonna work. Another thing I don't like is this grill piece and basically this entire piece over here. I mentioned how I didn't like it in the robot mode, and it really doesn't help when it comes down to the transformation. It did kind of get in the way of things, and it does seem like both are kind of bent on my copy of the figure. I don't know if that is because of me personally or if my copy of the figure just came like that. So this piece is just something I'm not particularly fond of. Tire detail does look nice. Now coming up to the front, we do have this really sick looking bumper piece. Now my main issue with this is that it has this like weathered and damaged look to it, when the rest of the figure has a more pristine and clean look to it. So having one area be like this doesn't really look too good. And I'm honestly glad this weathered look wasn't given to the whole figure, because every time Hasbro does a weathered look, it turns out kind of ugly. Figure doesn't roll too well. And as you can see, his abdomen piece is pretty close to the wheels, so you might end up scratching this when trying to roll it around. There is a bit of hollowness at the back over here. These bits don't really cover it up all the way, but for the most part, as I said earlier, this trailer section is pretty good.
Next is the Studio Series 102 Optimus Prime. This figure is almost perfect.
Through the windowless packaging, you can see him all bondaged up. The rest of the packaging for this is pretty alright. I do like this artwork on the side, not too much on the other side.
Here's a quick look at the back with the robot mode. Unfortunately for the vehicle mode, you can see some of the more cursed stuff.
Holy hell, what the fuck is that?
Here he is, and here are the two accessories he comes with. We'll get to these later.
And man, he looks really great. I'm loving the way this guy looks, and I also love the size of him.
I feel like I said that really weird.
He's definitely larger than his previous counterparts, and I'll be doing a proper comparison later, so stick around for that. The colors on this figure are absolutely amazing. It's such a vibrant, bright red. I love it. And the blues on here are such a nice, deep blue. Let's start off by taking a look at the head sculpt. In my opinion, it looks really amazing just from all around. A little bit of detail on that forehead piece. You have his iconic blue eyes, and the detail on the mouthpiece is done really well, I think. And the head sculpt is different from the mainline one, and I'll show how later. You get some nice tiny detail up here on the shoulders. I will say this gray part kind of looks weird, but I do feel like I'm kind of just nitpicking there. The chest piece is looking really great, I think. Some tinted see-through plastic. The shoulder pieces are looking great with the Autobot insignia, the iconic smokestacks, some nice sculpt work for this elbow section, and then a little bit of detail on the arms. And what I really like about this figure is how the back over here is folded up nice and neatly. It's done a lot better than his previous counterparts. Turning over to the back, you have some of that nice back detail. It looks really good. You can see it is red paint, but I think the paint matching is done pretty well. You do have 4 ports on the back. These are different sizes. This port is 5mm compatible, just like that. However, the bottom ones are the ports to store his weapons, like so. They do not fit in this bigger one, so. Turning the figure back around to the front, I think the abdomen section looks great. I think the color of paint they have on here looks amazing. I do also wish this was painted. It sticks out being different colors like that. Here you can see the sculpt of it is done really well. This section is all painted, unlike his mainline counterpart. This section looking nice and clean, and some really nice detail going on throughout the legs. Some nice sculpt work of the legs on the back as well. This blue section of the legs also looking really great. Here you can see all that nice detail going on. I love the way the wheels on here look. They're simple and clean. And then here's a quick look at the rest of the legs. Once again, the blue on here is absolutely amazing. And you get some paint work over here as well. And yeah, he looks great. Now let's do some size comparisons because he is so much bigger than his other counterparts. Here on the right is the mainline figure, and you can see the Studio Series figure is so much larger and just kind of towers over him.
He would call him daddy.
Here he is next to a knockoff of the Studio Series 38 that I own, and you can see he's still just a bit taller than him. Here is all three of them standing side by side, so you can get a better idea of how they all fare. And just for a fun little comparison, ignore the mess on my desk. Here he is next to the Robosen Signature Series Optimus Prime. And just for fun and a tease for a future video, here he is next to the YOLO Park model kit sent to me by YOLO Park. Make sure to subscribe because I am going to be doing a video on this. I posted the building process on my TikTok, which you should follow me on there. And here he is next to Legacy Armada Optimus. This was a great figure, by the way. You should go check that video out. And here he is next to the optional girl because you guys love her so much. And here he is next to her son. You guys are going to have to watch my previous video to understand that reference.
How many videos did I just promote?
So now let's get into the figure's articulation. So this one has head movement that can go up and down. You can do a pretty good side-to-side wobble and a full 360 rotation on the figure. These arms can spin a full 360 as well. These arms can move out to the side, but he does end up bonking himself. Some nice bicep rotation, and then you get a double hinge joint for the elbows. Next, these hands can wobble around, and you can spin them a full 360. You get a nice full 360 waist rotation as well. You also get an ab crunch. This is also utilized in the transformation, and then you can bring the legs out to the side over there, and the leg joints are kind of tight, but you can bring them forward pretty high up. That is impressive. Unfortunately, however, they can only go back that far. You get a rotation over here, a knee bend that goes about right there, seems to be a little bit past 90, and then the foot articulation, you can move the feet back and forth, and you can pivot them to the side over there, and all the way over there. And there is a full 360 rotation on the feet. Articulation on this guy is pretty good, minus the back leg movement. Also, this figure feels really solid. It feels nice to hold in my hand. It doesn't feel like they skipped out on any points on this figure.
Except for the vehicle mode, which we'll get to. And if you guys are curious, here's a look at the backdrop.
There's a little bird. Look at the birds. Now let's get into a further breakdown with the figure's prior counterparts.
So here's the optional girl, and not really. We're gonna do the mainline movie figure. As said earlier, this one is much taller, and I do feel like the articulation is a bit better.
One of the main things being the head can actually move up and down, compared to this one where you can't do that, so... Taking a look at the head, while these do look similar, this one is bigger, so it is a different head sculpt. I do feel like there's more detail on the arms of this figure,
but I think the arm management is done much better on this one, and I prefer that over having some extra detail.
Further down, we'll notice this section isn't painted like it is on here, not a big deal.
The major thing to note is how the legs are much more blue on the Studio Series figure, and I like that a lot. You can also see the differences in the detail, and the feet are designed differently as well. Turning over to the back, we'll notice that I mistransformed the mainline one.
Oh, look! An idiot.
Well, I refuse to refilm anything because I'm lazy, so we're just gonna move on. Just call me a silly goose in the comments.
But now, comparing to a knockoff of the Studio Series 38, I can't compare anything about the color because the color is different on here.
Other than that, it's the same as the real Studio Series 38. We'll notice the head sculpt is just so much different on both of these figures. In general, it seems like a lot was changed when retooling this figure. I think I prefer the chest piece on the 102 figure. I do slightly prefer the abdomen on the 102 figure as well because it's a little bit slimmer. Quick look at the legs, we'll notice they're done entirely differently. Now I want to do a comparison with the YOLO Park figure.
Obviously, this one is going to have a lot more detail on it. It's a model kit, but we can take a note at some of the similarities and the differences between the two. It's not super fair to compare these two. I just thought it'd be fun because this one is a non-transforming figure, so it does have a lot more detail on it.
However, I'm saving this one and the others for one future video, so make sure to subscribe for that. Here are his two accessories.
I think the sword looks pretty great. It's painted in a metallic dark gray. The sculpt work and detail on here is done really well. This basically can go in his hands like that, or into the arm over here, just like so. And then another way to do it is to peg it into this hole right there. And there's a look at that. This can also be done on this side. Kind of wish it came with two of them, but that's alright.
And here's a look at his blaster. I think it looks kind of pathetic, honestly. For what it is, the sculpt work on here is done pretty well. The lack of paint isn't really a big deal.
And the way this goes on is basically we just open this, bring the hand in, close that back up, and we put it on with the pointy side facing outwards.
And it looks like a pathetic pea shooter.
It's nice to have, but it doesn't look too great.
And I was wondering if any of the War for Cybertron weapons fit in, but they do not, unfortunately.
So far with the robot mode, it's pretty impressive. I like it a lot.
I 100% recommend this figure just for the robot mode alone. But we're not done yet. Let's see how the vehicle mode is, and then we'll do the transformation at the end of the video.
Here is the vehicle mode, and from the front, it looks absolutely gorgeous. Once again, I love the vibrant red colors on him, but turning him over to the top, this gray section is kind of ugly, and then turning him to the back, this is a mess. This is probably one of the worst trailer beds I've seen on an Optimus Prime figure. It doesn't even look like one. It just looks like a jumbled mess. It is awful.
And there's no proper way to put a trailer on him. I mean, we could do this if we take this off and then put it on like that, and I mean, that kind of works.
Let's bring these back out because it seems like I accidentally put them back in. So the truck mode detail on here is pretty good on the side. The grille piece on here looks really nice. You can see some of the tiny headlights, and then this section looks pretty good. Kind of wish it was silver. Quick look at the other side. And the wheels on him, once again, like I said earlier, they look pretty nice. The management from the underside looks pretty good.
Essentially, the front mode of the truck is pretty great, except it just falls apart in the back.
But now let's compare them to the other figures. We'll start with the mainline one.
The Studio Series one is definitely much bigger.
This one has some blue tinted windows and blue headlights. This one also has those fins at the back where this one does not. I think the top section on here looks better because this is all red, and the back section on this is not great and kind of small. Still, I prefer it over this one.
Now compared to the knockoff Studio Series 38,
I think the truck mode on this one looks amazing. I do apologize if things pop out since it's a knockoff. Things aren't going to fit in place properly. It does seem like vehicle mode wise, this is a bit bigger than this, so that is interesting. But here's a quick look at some of the detail comparisons. This one has a lot more rivets on it, and then I look at the side of both of them, and then the trailer on this is done so much better than on this.
it seems like throughout its iterations, the trailer bed has just gotten worse and worse.
So now there is weapon storage in the vehicle mode. The instructions say to do this part during the transformation, but you can do it afterwards. It's not that big of a deal. Just open his legs up like that, and then we can plug the sword in on basically either side over here. So I'm just going to do this one because that's what the instructions specifically say. Close that back up. There is also weapon storage for the blaster that goes right over here and there, and you can also put it in this part as well. And then I accidentally brought these back in. I mean, weapon storage always looks kind of awkward in vehicle mode, so it's not too big of a deal.
Now let's transform him from robot mode to vehicle mode.
I'm going to turn into a truck now.
The first thing I like to do is with the arms, open these flaps up so that way we can bring in the hands, close that back up, come here and do the exact same thing on this side, close that back up, open up this chest piece over here, and then we want to take this piece, which can be kind of hard to get at, grab that and then bring it up and then fold in the head. It is supposed to unclick when you do that, and then bring that in, close that chest piece back up, turn around to the back, untap this section, bring that down. Let's move his arms out to the side, bring out the legs,
Rotate the top 180 degrees, and what I like to do is just bring this in here just to kind of hold this top section in place so it doesn't flop around. We will untab it later. Unfold this arm piece out all the way, and the same on this side. Bring this piece 180 degrees down, and then go ahead and do the same with this one. Take his arms and then bring them down, rotate it like this. Rotate these parts of the arms around, so that way we can bring it in. We can actually move this piece out of the way now. Get the arm all the way in there, and then bring this piece up and tab it in. Do the exact same thing for this side. Bring in the arm down there, rotate it like so. Rotate this part of the arm, and then bring it in there, and then just kind of fiddle with it until you're able to get this piece to tab into place. Take this wheel out, and same on the other side. Now we can come back to this section and bring it in. Make sure it's in all the way. So that is mostly the front section done. Now we're going to turn over to the back, come to the legs, open this up, rotate this piece around, turn the foot around, and just bring it in. Same thing on the other side. Bring this out, rotate this around, rotate the foot, and bring it in. Bring in the legs, and the feet do tab into each other. Now into whatever the hell these things are. This piece needs to tab into here. So go ahead and bring that in and make sure everything is secure in place. Go ahead and do the same exact thing on the other side. Make sure everything is in place. Bring that down, turn over to the other side, bring that down as well. Close in these skirt pieces, and they do have a pretty tight fit. They can be kind of hard to take out. Now bring out the fuel tanks on both sides, and it is easy to accidentally push these back in when you're messing around with the figure, so be wary of that. And finally, let's take the top section and close it in. Make sure everything is lined up properly, and here is its vehicle mode. Moving on. The Legacy Armada Optimus is the ultimate himbo Autobot. With his chiseled vehicle mode, big dumpy trailer, a stacked robot mode, and a super mode making you want to call him daddy.
Daddy?
But for now, let's take a look at the packaging. Here's the packaging, right there. And here's a look at the back. Also, can someone explain to me why the box is so big and the figure only takes up a third of its space? That seems like a waste. Let's start off with the vehicle mode, go to the robot mode, and then the super mode.
He said no fucking pickles.
I feel like a lot of the detail does show off in the vehicle mode pretty well. You have some nice stuff going on over here. You can see some of the pipes, some more detail that's painted in gold over here. A little bit hard to see, but you can see more in the blue molded plastic section. The wheels are really nice on this figure, and they help give him a nice sound when you roll him around. Some nice work done on the rims with the nice silver. What I don't like is how the hands for the super mode are extremely noticeable in the vehicle mode. Now over to the front section of the truck mode. I do like the smokestacks and the nice silver they have. This gap here does kind of throw me off, but it's not a big deal. I love the clear plastic windows. A lot of the Armada figures did tend to have these. Some nice silver sections up here at the top and the front of the vehicle mode.
This front section on mine is a bit scuffed up and it's very annoying.
What the fuck is this, motherfucker?
I paid over $100 for this, so please leave a like and subscribe. Here's a quick look at the underneath. Nothing too special really.
Now, one thing I do want to mention is that when you're messing around with the figure, you might accidentally shift this around. For vehicle mode, I believe it's supposed to be sticking out here like that. And for the super mode, that's when you're supposed to bring it down.
Anyways, the vehicle mode is one sexy thing to look at. Now to transform Optimus Prime.
First, what we're going to do is come to the front, take these front sections, and it can be a little... This piece on mine is loose, so that is a bit annoying. Take it and bring it out like that. Same with this one. Go ahead and bring it out. Now we take the front piece, we'll bring it down and bring it into place over there. Bring the arms out on both sides. Bring this section out and just kind of shimmy it down a bit. Same with this one. Bring it down. Let's adjust the arms and we bring the hand into their proper place. Same with this one. Take these sections and bring them around. This part tabs into that. So connect that. It's a little hard to see. Do the same with this one. Get it in place. Open up these sections so that way we can bring out the feet. Same with this foot. Close that back up. Take out these skirt pieces. Come to the back. Bring him forward like that. And just bring that out a bit. And detach the legs. And here is the robot mode. The transformation was very simple. How does it compare to the original? I don't know because I never owned the original.
Now in robot mode, the scuffed up chest piece is glaring at me, mocking me.
I don't know if it's worth emailing Hasbro about to get a replacement copy or something. The head sculpt on this figure looks fantastic in my opinion. Just looking at him all around, I love the way he looks. The shoulder pieces are nice and broad. I love the details on the wheels he has. Back over to the chest piece, it is done really nicely with the silver paint and these yellow bits. You can open it up and it does reveal the matrix. If we take it out, there's a closer look at that. There's a lot of nice detail going on in this section and over there, but that's not all. If we bring this down, there's even more detail going on over here and it looks really nice. The rest of his arms look really cool. The smokestacks are out on the side. These were initially attached to his blaster in the packaging, so you have to take them off and put them on yourself. I do feel like this section kind of obstructs the hands, which is unfortunate. He's got skirt pieces on the sides and the back. The crotch piece does seem to be a little bit too big, but it's not that big of a deal.
I mean, it shows he's packing.
Now, the crotch piece has this weird tendency to not fully want to tab into place sometimes because it does separate for the super mode, so there is that minor issue. And the rest of the legs look pretty good. They have a nice design to them. You got a little bit of detail going on. This piece can come off, can be a bit tricky to do sometimes, and then you can place it on his shoulder and then take his blaster and attach it to the back. So that way you do have some weapon storage. I mean, it does look kind of awkward, but it is appreciated. It is very reminiscent of the Ion Blaster, and I do believe it looks similar to the original. It's pretty much just a simple black color, but it does look really nice. It fits in his hand pretty well, and it gets the job done.
Comparing him to other Legacy Armada figures, here's Megatron, Hotshot, and Starscream.
Now for the articulation. The head can move side to side. You can move it up and down. You can give it a full 360 rotation. These arms can move out to the side, and this moves a little bit as well. You can get a full 360 rotation, a bicep rotation. The elbow bend on this is really good because it does have a double joint. Hand rotation.
You get a small ab crunch, and if you move this out of the way, you can get an even bigger crunch.
There is no waist rotation, but it's not really possible because these do need to separate for the super mode. You can bring the legs out, and they do have a nice ratchet joint. Let's move this out of the way. You can bring them out to the side, and you can bring them back. You get a leg rotation and a knee bend, and the knees can move like that as well. He has a 90-degree foot pivot, which is really nice, and the feet can move back and forth. The base mode on this figure is really good, and I feel like it is faithful to the original show.
Now let's look at the trailer thingy. It is very hefty.
It's got a few nice designs up at the top, and some more over here. I do like the way these treads are designed and all the detail going on inside it. He's got actual wheels at the bottom of the treads. And here's a look at the rest of the underneath and the other side of the trailer mode, and a quick look at the back. It is very nice and chunky. He does have some stands we can take out from the side over here and one over here, so that way you can get this to stand on its own. Now the stands don't really work too well, especially this side. Just moving it over a little bit makes it fall over. It would help if these were ratcheted. Attaching the trailer is pretty simple. You just take this section and put it on here, and it doesn't slot in or anything. It's just kind of a loose fit. And with the trailer on, the vehicle mode looks really good. And then on top of that, you can take the blaster and put it in there. And he is technically compatible with other trailers.
It kind of works, kind of, maybe.
Now let's get the trailer into its base mode. First thing, let's bring these back out on both sides. Turn it over to the side so we can open up this panel. Same with this one. Turn it over and go ahead and do the same thing again. Can be a little bit tricky. There we go. Let's go ahead and bring that out and take out the legs. Same with this one. We're going to take this section and bring it down.
There's a bug here. You're ruining my video.
Have this tab in there. Do the same for this one. Bring that in. Let's bring this in like that and tab this into place. Same thing with this section over here. Take this section and rotate it around, and it does need to tab into here. We're going to go ahead and bring it down. We can flip these over. This does need to come up. Now we're going to take this section, rotate it around, take these pieces and bring them out, and let's adjust that into place. Bring the the other side out as well. And there is the base mode. There's not really a whole lot to say about it. You can throw on some mini-cons and other figures onto it,
Add some alcohol and get a little party going.
it is something from the show, so I'm glad it's there, but there's not a whole lot to this.
Now let's transform the upper half of the super mode.
We're going to shimmy these sections like we were if we were going to transform them back into vehicle mode. Take these sections and bring them back into place as well, just like that. Now we're going to move down to the legs. We're going to open up these sections. Same with this one. Bring the feet in like that. Rotate it around so we can bring out his hands. Close that back up. Do the exact same thing with this one. Bring that back down. Let's bring his arms out like that for now. So now we're going to separate this piece by rotating it this way, and we'll bring these out to the side. Same. Ow, fuck. Pinched myself there. Same with this one. Rotate this, bring the arm down, rotate this, and bring that down as well. Now this part kind of worries me a little bit. We got to take out the head, and with the way you take it out, it might run into these pieces on the side, so I'm afraid of scratching the headpiece every time I do this, but just make sure it's out all the way, and then make sure this piece is down. Readjust those arms over here. Now back to his regular mode arms. What we're going to do is bring them in and then shift them in like that, and then rotate them up this way, and they do tab into place right over there, so go ahead and do that. Same with this one. Shift it in like this, and then bring it in up there. Let's make sure these are adjusted back into place. Let's adjust these arms, bring out these side pieces, and there is the top of the super mode.
To transform the base mode into the super mode legs, bring these flaps up. Let's bring up the skirt piece, bring this down, bring out this for the legs and the feet. Same here on this side. Take the leg sections and bring them together. Bring down this flap over here. Same here on this side. Let's bring this down, then rotate this top section all the way around to where the treads are at the back. Just that skirt piece. Bring the front skirt piece down. Bring up these flaps on the sides. Rotate this around, and that was not supposed to happen. Let's put that back. This piece needs to tap into these sections over here. So do that, and we can bring this out. And there is the bottom half of the super mode.
Now let's combine the pieces. Might be a little tricky to do on camera, so we're going to take this section and make sure it goes in there. And then these sections need to tab into place. And then this part is kind of troublesome to do. What we need to do is close this and then bring this down. But on my copy of the figure, this one doesn't go back into position all the way, which then prevents this from moving. So when I go ahead and bring it down, as you can see, that's not moving. So I kind of just have to mess around with it until this comes back out. So that way I can bring this up.
And here is Optimus Prime in his super mode, and he's a big beefy boy. It's a bit hard to show all of him on camera, but he is a very nice figure.
The head sculpt on here looks really great. The eyes are the wrong color. I know a lot of people did notice that. I'm not sure why they decided to do yellow. This could be fixed with some Gundam marker. Now when you move the arms on the shoulder pieces, these might untab. That's okay, just bring them back into place. Them untabbing does help with some of the articulation. He does have some nice designs on those shoulder pieces that we saw in his other mode. The truck mode forms most of this upper body section. Some nice detail on the arms. The hands are sculpted really well, and I do like the color on them. What is weird is the 5mm port over here just kind of sticking out like that. I understand why it's there. I just feel like it looks kind of weird. Kind of a minor nitpick. He's got his skirt pieces on the side and over here. The legs of the figure are looking nice and brick-like. Molded really well. It is kind of weird having this gap over here where the feet were in. Taking a look at the back of the figure, he does have a lot going on, but I do believe this is show accurate.
Here he is next to the Legacy Armada Hotshot, Legacy Starscream, the Volvo Optimus Prime, and Legacy Megatron, and he just towers over him.
Now I do want to compare him to my Cybertron Optimus real quick. Sorry, they're both too big to fit in my set together, but I do like how this Legacy Armada Optimus is actually taller than the Cybertron Optimus, and he does have pretty decent articulation to him. The head can move up and down pretty well. It can move side to side. You do get a full 360 rotation on him. These arms can rotate a full 360. Let's make sure that doesn't get caught in the way, and they are on a ratchet joint, which is nice. If we do move these out of the way,
We can rotate the arms up and bring them up from the side.
Close that back up. You get a rotation, a single jointed elbow bend this time. It only goes 90 degrees.
Hand rotation, and they can open and close.
And what's surprising, in the super mode, he does have waist rotation. You can bring the legs forward, and you do get a loud ratchet joint. Back movement is a bit limited. You can bring them out to the side, leg rotation, and a knee bend with a nice ratchet joint. And lastly, you do get a foot pivot that goes 90 degrees. Now, one complaint I do have is that since the side leg movements aren't on ratchet joints, it's hard for him to stand right when doing poses. Also, these pieces, if they're not tabbed in right, will be loose from time to time, so make sure to watch out for that.
And make sure to watch out that the chest piece is in place properly.
Just things to be mindful of. And a lot of the detail stuff on this figure I went over already. I would definitely recommend this figure.
This is the Volvo Optimus Prime, and I personally think a lot of people are missing out on this figure. Now let's open it up.
Here is our little guy, and he feels very solid in hand. You can see his face right underneath there.
My name is Optimus Prime.
And you can see just how well and clean he looks on the underside. The truck mode itself looks really great. I'm really glad they released a classic red and blue version of this Optimus Prime. The red matte color for the truck looks amazing. You can see the tiny Volvo logo on the front, and this entire section with the grille is done really well. You can see a bit of the top of the truck details, some nice translucent windows. Here at the back you can see some details and the matrix of leadership. The rims and wheels on this guy are also done really well.
All this at the top of the trailer looks really good.
And here it is compared to the Holiday Optimus Prime. If you haven't seen this video yet, go check it out at the end of this review. And as you can see, they are exactly identical, minus the colors. Everything else is exactly the same, and we will see more of that in the robot mode, so make sure to stick around for that.
How are you? Fine, thank you. I wish I were a bird.
Obviously, this one is Christmas themed and has green tinted windows, and this right here is green, while these windows are a clear plastic, while this is tinted black. Both have the Volvo logo on the back as well, except this one... Why did I expect this to stand when I placed it like this? But as I was saying, this one has extra paint applications on the back, while the Holiday Optimus does not. Also, these lights on the front are yellow, while there's silver over here. And another tiny detail that I noticed is that the keyhole in the underneath of the door handle is white on here, while this one it's all just red. Also, the shades of red on both of these are very different. Which truck would you want to be isekai'd with? Leave a comment down below. Please, it's very important that I know.
Here are the two in-vehicle modes side by side.
Here's a look at the trailer.
It's the same as the Earthrise one.
Really glad I have this in accurate colors now,
Because I don't have the Earthrise Optimus. This one has white in it and the blue stripes are a different color.
a good amount of detail underneath.
The back looks really nice as well, although I don't know why they decided to make it black instead of gray.
You can open this up also, revealing a lot of detail on the inside, and these are two different shades of gray.
The auto launcher is entirely black with the arms being gray. I think a lot of the details do get lost in the black color.
But it does still look really good. The arms have a lot of great detail going on to them. He's got a few hinge joints to him, and these arms are on ball joints. And just like Holiday Optimus Prime, you can use the trailer as a repair station.
Whoops, wrong figure. You can use the trailer as a repair station.
There's a stand underneath to help prop this up. Now, compared to the Holiday Optimus Prime trailer, they are exactly the same. Just once again, different color schemes. This is primarily one color with red, and it's made to look like there's snow on the top.
Or semen.
Once again, the inside is the same, just all white, and I've already done a review on this guy, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Alright, now for the transformation, let's bring the smokestacks out to the side. Just like that.
Now we need to bring out this side piece, same with this one, just bring it all the way out, so that way we can then bring it up, bring this one up also.
Now we can take this piece out, which
Honestly, we probably should have done that first, but it doesn't really matter, nothing in this world matters. So time to get isekai'd.
bring these pieces up,
Take the front section and then just split it in half.
turn the figure over, take these pieces and bring them out to the side. Now we take the grill section and bring it out into the side as well. Same over here with this one, just bring it out to the side. Now we can unfold this, same with this leg, bring it all out. Now we bring the foot out, unfold it, make sure that toe is out. That can be a bit tricky to do. Once again, take this foot out, unfold it, take the heel out. Now we can fold this piece and bring it up here, and it needs to go under this piece.
Go ahead and do the same for this one, just get it all the way up in there.
Bend the knee and rotate the grill pieces so that they can come forward. Same over here. Go ahead and do that. I definitely think the legs are the most complicated part. Now we can bring out the arms, and that does expose some more detail inside the figure. Rotate these arms to where they're facing forward, just like that. Bring the rest of this down in that manner, and then fold it up like that. This section needs to come down here. Rotate the head around, fold in these pieces, and make sure they're in place. And now what we can do is make sure this chest piece is tabbed into there. So go ahead and do that. Now we can open the arms to bring out the hands. Same with this one. Open it up.
Bring out the hand and close the arm.
And make sure this back section just kind of tabs into place like that. Bring up that crotch piece and make sure it tabs into place.
The smokestack might have moved while transforming, so just make sure it's back out to the side.
And this is the robot mode for VNR Optimus Prime. And I think this is a very sexy figure. Here he is standing with Holiday Optimus Prime, Jazz, Bumblebee,
A Bible-accurate angel.
and Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime. He does have a lot of ports on him, 2 up on the shoulders, some underneath the feet. He has these 2 on the arms, and then these ones on the legs. And then lastly, this one for weapon storage. And what am I going to do with all these slots, you ask? Right away, you'll notice that these pieces are all a glossy red, while over here it's a matte red. Kind of a weird choice, but whatever. And speaking of the legs, the same issue I have with Holiday Optimus I do with this figure is that I feel like the bottom of the legs are just way too bulky. But the rest of the figure is really good. Now look at the head sculpt, one of the best Optimus Prime head sculpts I've seen. There is no light piping on the back of this figure, unfortunately.
But he does have some killer sexy blue eyes to make up for that.
And I think I prefer that over light piping. The silvers on here are also really nice, and the rest of the mold of the head is just done really well. You have a nice looking chest up here with the yellow lights and that front grille piece. Open this up to get to the matrix, and the housing for the matrix looks really good. It's a bit hard to tell because it's a clear plastic, and I'll show the matrix off in a second. Over to the shoulders, looking nice and blocky. What does bother me is that this Autobot insignia is obscured, and like that really does bother me for some reason, and I'm sure it's gonna bother a lot of other people out there too. Now, rest of the arms looking really good. You got some nice panel work going on with the classic Optimus Prime shapes in the yellow, some very nice blue hands with a good mold to them. Down over here, the classic looking Optimus crotch section. You'll know an Optimus Prime crotch piece when you see one.
Hey Optimus, nice cock.
A small nitpick I have is that it would be nice to see some yellow in there.
Further down to the legs, where once again I feel like is the weakest part of the figure, but it does look pretty good on here, along with that color scheme. Some nice blues at the front with these being red, and you do get some very nice detail with the truck split in half. I think that's very cool. You got a nice silver up here, some tiny bits of detail underneath the truck,
And the rest of the legs I've come to accept being bulky at this point. Now a closer look at the matrix.
the silver, gold, and the light blue is done super well.
Here's a look at the back, nothing special going on.
You still unfortunately cannot hold the matrix, however, because the hands are just a closed fist.
Here's the blaster for the figure. It folds up so you can just unfold it like that.
This looks really good and it's got a lot of nice detail to it. Once again, just the Earthrise blaster, and here it is next to the Candy Cane blaster of Holiday Optimus.
We're still going to do the comparison, so stick around, but first we're going to get into articulation.
The head can move up and down. You can spin him a full 360. These arms can move out to the side. You get a bicep rotation, 360 arm rotation, 90-degree elbow bend, a full hand rotation. Legs can move forward out to the side like that, and you can bring them back. Leg rotation, knee bend, and it does kind of tease you with the double hinge over here, but that's just for the transformation. No foot rotation, but there is a pivot inwards. This is on a hinge joint, and so is the heel.
Oh, and I forgot waist rotation. Now, I don't think I mentioned this, but oops, wrong figure.
Now, I don't think I mentioned this in my Holiday Optimus Prime review, but there is weapon storage at the back of the figure, just like that.
Alright, now we can finally compare the two figures.
So once again, pretty much the exact same figure, except for the colors. I do much prefer the colors on this figure. It's just a classic Optimus Prime, and the blues on here are much better in my opinion. Looking side by side at the heads, I think the colors on the VNR Optimus really make it stand out a lot more than the Holiday Prime Optimus. This one has light piping at the back. The Holiday Optimus has that green tinted window with a white line going through the chest piece. The Autobot logo is much smaller on here and not obscured by that pin, so I'm curious as to why they didn't do that with this figure. Rest of the figure, this section's white on here. The crotch piece on this Optimus Prime has a giant C on it, which is kind of funny. And here's a closer look at those legs, and then a side view of the legs. A closer look at the chambers, and you can see the colors on both matrices are very different. While I do really like this figure, I much prefer this one because it is the classic colors. But don't get me wrong, both figures are amazing.
This is one of the most interesting Transformers collaborations out there. The Canon Transformers Optimus Prime R5, a very, very unique figure, and I kind of love it. The camera mode looks amazing. They really managed to nail the look of an actual Canon camera, and the robot mode, well, it's definitely interesting, that's for sure. I did manage to get this figure with the help of the people over at Bai. I'll talk more about that later. Now, Transformers have always done many interesting collaborations with other companies. We had the Transformers Infobar, which turned into a licensed Japanese cell phone. There's a Ghostbusters Optimus Prime and Evangelion Optimus Prime. There have been several other IPs Transformers have collaborated with also, and even this one. Now bear with me as I talk about the packaging because I feel like in this case it is very important. Straight away, it has a very sleek design to it, and it feels like packaging you would get when you go to steal a camera from the store. I mean, buy a camera. It's in an all black color with a very minimum design, giving it that professional look because the Canon R5 is a very professional camera. It's like $4,000, which is a lot. For example, my Sony a7 III cost like $2,000 when I got it. On the front, you have the figure in both modes with a subtle white glow around them. One side, you have an image of Optimus about to take a picture of you for his cringe compilation, and on the other side you have an image of the camera mode. On the top is basic text, and on the back is mostly all in Japanese, so I can't read any of that, but you do get some basic content stuff. Out of the packaging, the camera mode looks gorgeous, just like you, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It looks just like a real camera, and as a photographer, my mind is forcing me to handle this like a real camera. I immediately put the lens cap on as soon as I took it out of the box. My mind goes straight into photographer mode, despite me knowing this is a piece of plastic. plastic, which by the way, this feels very, very light. And that keeps throwing me off every time I pick this up because real cameras have actual weight to them, but this is a toy. The lens cap on here looks just like the lens cap of an actual camera. The texturing on here really sells it, and that Canon logo is done very well. I could easily see this being mistaken for a real lens cap. These bits, however, don't actually close like they would on a real lens cap. It's all just molded into place. And putting this on the lens is also very awkward to do. It takes a few tries to get it right, and as you can see, I'm struggling. Underneath it though, we can see the front of the lens, and it is made of some pretty decent quality translucent plastic. Obviously, they're not going to use real glass on here, but just like a real camera, this is going to get fingerprints on it when you touch it. It's also somehow dusty despite the lens cap having been on there the entire time. Now this section around here on the red line is actually pretty loose. This separates pretty easily, which is kind of annoying, and it is necessary for the transformation. Further down, you have some nice texture over here, replicated very well from an actual camera. And further down that, you have these ridges for the focus and zoom areas. This is also done very well and goes all the way throughout. You also get some nicely printed numbers and letters closer to the bottom of the lens. You can't actually turn this to zoom like you would with a real lens, obviously because it is a toy. You get some nicely replicated sliders for the focus and the stabilizer mode. And over here you have some of the nicest metallic silver I have seen on a figure. Here we can actually take the lens off to get a better look at this. The silver on here is done incredibly well. It looks like it's made of real metal. Here it is next to an actual camera lens. This is one of my Sony lenses, and as you can see, this does look very real. This entire area looks like how an actual camera should look, and I like how they included the little connectors over here as well as these faux molded in screw pieces, which was also done incredibly well. A lot of care was given to even the tiniest aspects of detail on this figure. Now the body of the camera has that classic Canon texture to it. A majority of it is on the front, while the rest of it is on the side where you would hold it from, some on the other side over here, and a little bit on the back. And once again, the texture replicated on here is done incredibly well. The hot shoe area at the top of the camera looks very realistic with that silver paint. Once again, you can't actually connect a real flash to it. It's not going to fit. This Optimus Prime figure is smaller than an actual R5 camera. Now all the text and symbols on here are done incredibly well. These are exactly what you would see on an actual camera. Once again, this metal area on this side also looks really good with the faux screws. Some more of those connection bits. The area where the sensor and shutter would be are completely solid, and the viewfinder at the back is completely solid, but it does have this reflective piece on there, which is a nice touch. Now on a real Canon camera, this is a display that you can pull out, but you can't really do it over here. You can sort of replicate that if you partially transform the figure, but it does look kind of weird that way. Underneath though also looks like what you would get on a real camera. You get this molded area for the battery. It doesn't actually function though. And you get this area for a shoe mount. Although once again, you won't actually be able to put this on there and screw it in. It is a little too small for one. They even managed to put this joystick at the back with the right grippy details. Now you can see some blue bits of the robot mode seeping through the figure, but honestly, in my opinion, that's not really that big of a deal. Now what is really cool is that the shutter button up at the top here is actually pressable. Along with that, you get 3 working dials. You have this one up here, this one, as well as the one at the back. This thing is a perfect replica of a real camera, and here it is right next to my Sony a7 III that I use for my photography. Now let's get to the transformation. Now the first thing we want to do to transform this figure is to pull out this section, and then we can flip this out, take this and bring that out, take the legs and we'll bring them down over here, and now we can close this section and then bring this in, come down to the bottom where we'll see the feet, and then we can bring both of them out, rotate this down, bring these pieces up, separate the legs. Now we can take this lens cap off, take this section, oh, not that section, take this section down, bring the rest of the lens up over here, and we can spread his arms, come over to the back. We're going to take this panel and flip that in there, as well as the one on this side. We're going to take this section off, and then if you can't see this slider, we need to shift this down. This does tab right into there. So now this piece should be underneath this head area, and we take this entire section and bring it down over there, and it should snap into place. There we go. Come to the arms, and they do tab into the side. I need to get them in there. Same with the one over here. Now for the rest of the lens, we just need to fold it down and bring it all the way up. And I really do like how that just compresses down. Now there is this section over here, which we do need to just push in if we can do that. There we go. It's a very basic step, but it does help make it symmetrical to this side. Now we can finally open up the arms, so that way we can take out the hands. Same with the one on this side and close that up. And now for our final optional touches, we can open this up, push this in, and then we can place the matrix into it. Make sure it is facing like this and just get that in there and close it up. Here is the robot mode, and he does look very interesting. But before we get further into this, I do want to talk about how I got this figure. This figure originally cost around $145, but I managed to get this for the equivalent of $66.41 plus shipping. The people over at Bai assisted me monetarily to be able to place a bid on this figure from a seller on Yahoo Japan auction. What's crazy is that no one else had placed a bid on this. You can find items on Bai for cheap in the Yahoo Japan auction auction section because like no one else is placing a bid on them. I got the Takara Transformers Millennium Falcon with the help from Bai as well for $70.43. Now Bai is basically a proxy buying service
That lets you buy things from online Japanese exclusive retailers.
and I picked the most expensive shipping option because they paid for it, so why not? But you can also pick cheaper shipping options that do take longer, and they'll also consolidate all your orders into one package and ship them to you. So you truly might be able to find your holy grail figures for a good price if you are lucky.
There's a link for 10% off for new users below.
Now back to the robot mode. So the robot mode, like I said, it's interesting. Honestly, it looks really silly, but they are turning a pre-existing camera into an action figure, and they did what they could, so I can't blame them for anything. And honestly, I think they did a pretty great job. I feel like it's a really fun and interesting concept. He has the classic Optimus Prime colors, the red and blue are great, and then you have the black body of the camera. He also has very little paint applications throughout him. Now let's take a closer look at the head sculpt of the figure. We can bring this down and out of the way so we can zoom in. The head sculpt on this figure is done very well. It is G1 Optimus, but it's a bit more stylized and angular. It gives it a more Japanese feel to it, if that makes sense. Like Japanese robots tend to have more angles and look sleek. Not fully a robot and actually a cyborg, but look at how sexy Genos is. God damn. Anyways though, it's a great head sculpt. I'm just not a big fan of the lens thing on his forehead. The silver paint application for the mouthpiece is nice and it goes all the way up to around the eyes. And by the way, the light piping on this figure is excellent. It really makes him look alive, and then you can take that life away.
Life, death, life, death.
Overall, it's a pretty good head sculpt, and if you take a look at the back, that is the light piping area. Up in this area of the figure, not a whole lot to say really. I do want to mention, I like how they still painted the inside of all of this, the metallic silver. That is a nice touch. The arms are done very well. It is that classic G1 Optimus look to it, but they managed to add some extra panel work, which really helps accentuate the figure a lot more. You get the classic Optimus Prime shapes. I do like how nice, big, and blocky his arms are. Honestly, the aesthetic is great, and the large Autobot insignia on the arm is always an Optimus Prime classic. On the other side, he has the Canon logo, and I love that. But overall, the arms just look really good in my opinion. This bit of the arm does have some gaps to it, which kind of sucks considering this figure cost almost $150. This is Masterpiece Transformers money, and this figure is definitely not Masterpiece, especially considering it's not a Masterpiece figure. But I do feel for that price point, this should feel a little bit more hefty. There is no die-cast metal in this figure, it is all just plastic. But the plastic quality is pretty good. I just assumed the Canon licensing was a bit too expensive or something. Now I will say, if we bring this arm up, we will see, yeah, that's not too great. At this price, not great. The sculpt of the hands is pretty basic stuff, not a whole lot to say. 3 points of articulation, just like how a Masterpiece figure would. Now the main body of the figure does look kind of awkward, I will say that, but considering what they were working with here, it is pretty excusable, and I think they did the best job they could. You still can't see a lot of the camera detail on the figure, which is nice. On the chest, he wears the EOS R5 like a proud badge of honor. He's like, look at me, this is the camera you should use. Sorry, I'm a Sony fanboy now. It is awkward to have this lens piece sticking up, but considering earlier it was this long, I think it's pretty impressive how they managed to compress this down. Further down the legs, it's pretty much basic Optimus Prime stuff from here. You have the yellow bits on the crotch piece. I do like all the extra panel working they have on the legs and all that extra detail going on throughout it. It really makes the figure stand out a bit more, and I'm glad it's not just plain. Oh, and if we do bend the knee, we do get some detail over there. Coming down to the feet, these look pretty horrendous in my opinion. They're not that great. I honestly hate the feet on this. I guess they didn't have too much to work with, but man, it's just kind of lame. The figure holds together pretty well, and none of the joints are loose, which is good because in robot mode, it is pretty top heavy, and thankfully the legs are good enough to keep it in place and not fall over. I will say the side leg movements are a little loose, but nothing too big to complain about. Now turning the figure over to the back, there is a lot of kibble here, and then we get these awkward things which kind of look like wings, but honestly it's not that big of a deal considering what the figure is. In the back of the legs is pretty much a lot of the camera stuff. Now accessories wise, we can't open this up to take a closer look at the Matrix of Leadership if my hands can get on it. There we go. Now it is a very nice looking Matrix of Leadership, and it is entirely made of plastic, so it does feel very light, but the metallic silver and the orange paint job on here is done really well, and you get that translucent blue in the middle. And this is probably going to be my favorite accessory for a Transformers figure. You get an even smaller version of the Canon R5 camera, and this is also done really well. Like they managed to add all the buttons and dials, and it just looks super impressive. Like look at that. This is great to have, and I love it. There is a little tab over here which connects to his right hand, although he is not cooperating with me right now. Okay, I managed to get it in, and honestly this looks really hilarious to me. This is similar to the Infobar Optimus Prime coming with a tiny cell phone.
So no head?
Now the lens cap is pretty unique because this is also a shield for the figure. We can tab it into this hand, and then he kind of holds it like this, so the logo is a bit sideways, so you kind of have to like rotate the hand, and that does look better. But now he's holding the shield kind of awkwardly. Now articulation wise, I am a little bit disappointed with this figure. Like
I really couldn't get a whole lot of variety in poses with this.
So the head can move up and down. We do get a full spin on here. These arms can move out to the side over there. You can rotate them up, but this gets in the way. But it would be able to spin a full 360. Rotation at the arm. A single hinge joint for the elbow, but the bend is pretty good. This hand can move up and down, and it is on a ball joint. Masterpiece style movement for the fingers. Now this is where I'm a little bit disappointed. There is no waist rotation on this figure, and that kind of sucks. But the legs can move forward, out to the side, we go back there. Rotation, a 90-degree knee bend. The feet can move back and forth, but there is no foot pivot. So the articulation is just a little bit limited. Now overall, this is a very unique looking Transformers figure.
Legacy animated Optimus Prime, it's a solid figure, but it has a few flaws. Now let's check out our $35 piece of plastic that gives us a dopamine rush when we buy it.
The packaging has some pretty badass artwork on the sides, and the figure itself seems to be great at first glance. Transformers Animated always had a very unique style to it, and it even shows with this figure.
Leave a like below if you like Transformers Animated, and even if you don't, just leave a like. Please leave a like, please.
The proportions of this figure haven't really been replicated from the show,
Like with the original toy, but this is still pretty good.
However, I can't help but feel like this figure looks a bit more kiddish. Wait, Transformers toys for kids? You can't be serious, right? Regardless, I think this figure looks really good.
But there are some paint inaccuracies on it.
He's missing some yellow paint for the head, hands, as well as the feet. There should be some white or very lightish silver paint on the head, but instead we get a darker gray in the front area. We also have some paint applications on the side of the arms, which are necessary for the vehicle mode, and his arms are only partially blue, and I believe in the show, these parts of the arms are entirely blue. It seemed like Hasbro was toning down the G1ification for legacy figures, but there's a lot of G1 elements to this figure. I mean, the original design itself is based off G1 Prime, but you'll see what I mean. Here is the figure, and here it is next to a picture of the original Voyager animated Prime. You'll see the original kept more true to the proportions of the figure. Sure, Legacy is meant to be sort of a new take on these figures, but sometimes they go for original accuracy, and then sometimes they go for something more stylized, which kind of leads to a very confusing line of figures. I'm really ranting over a $35 piece of plastic.
I guess that's my financial contribution to society.
I actually don't hate this figure. I think it looks very nice. The head sculpt on here is really great. You can see they did G1ify this.
Hasbro really likes to take that G1ification ray out of storage.
It's a lot more boxy and square, but it is nice. He has a classic Optimus Prime look, and I like how they opted for the open mouth instead of the closed mouth piece, which can be a pretty controversial thing amongst fans. I like how he has a blue face, just like in the original show, along with the blue eyes and a black outline around them to make them pop. The dark silver paint on here is also done pretty well. The chest area looks pretty good, but the design is a lot more bulky compared to the animated design,
making him look like a big, wide, and beefy boy. Why did I write that in the script? They made him thick, but they didn't make him thick where it matters, and that's disappointing.
This also feels like it was very G1ified. The main chest piece still resembles the shape of the original design, and so do the windows on the chest piece, which do end up getting a lot of dust on them, and they are kind of a fingerprint magnet, so be careful of that. Now, the abdomen area doesn't really resemble his show counterpart. There's a lot less of it here, and this chest piece doesn't go all the way around to the sides. Instead, it goes up to here, and that makes the figure feel a little naked. What is nice though, if you take the front piece up as part of the transformation, can be a little bit tough to do. There we go. If we take a look inside, we can see some really nice truck detail. I think this was a really cool touch to add, even though you're never going to really see this unless you're transforming the figure. The original Transformers Prime Optimus Prime figure also had some truck detail on the inside. I do like all these paint applications on here. They are show accurate. The shape of the arms resemble the animated design, but as I mentioned earlier, there are some color differences. There's a few bits of extra detail on here to make it pop, but one thing I'm not sure if I like it are the classic G1 shapes on his arms. This really sells it to me that they wanted to G1ify this figure. The original design doesn't have these, so I'm kind of leaning towards they shouldn't be there. We also do get a bit of hollowness on the arms. The Autobot logo being on one side is accurate to the show, and it looks nice. The crotch area is a nice bright blue, and it has some good yellow paint on it. And if we go further down the legs, this looks fine, but we do have some ugly gaps on the inside. If we bend this, we can see a little bit more. We do also have some gaps on the back of the legs. The rest of the shape of the legs is fine. They added more detail to it, along with some more G1 Optimus Prime bits. The feet on this, however, look kind of weird. I personally don't like them. Maybe if they did add some more paint to it, it would look better. Turning the figure over to the back, we do have his fire truck lights in a nice translucent red and blue. So design-wise, in robot mode, as an animated Optimus Prime figure, it does look pretty good. I like it, but I feel like it falls a little bit flat in representing what the original animated Optimus Prime looked like. But if you keep that in mind when picking up this figure, I don't think you'll be disappointed, because as I said earlier, this is a pretty good looking figure. Now before we get into the vehicle mode, let's talk about the articulation articulation. It is pretty much standard stuff for a Voyager class figure, so I don't think you'll have trouble posing this guy. You can move the head around and give it a full 360 rotation. If we zoom in, we will see a hinge joint over here, so you can move the head back and forth. These arms can move out to the side. We do get a rotation on them. Arm rotation there. The elbow bend is a double hinge joint, which is very nice. We do get some hand rotation. No ab crunch, but we do get a waist rotation. These legs can move all the way up there, out to the side. Rotation, they can move back, and we get a knee bend that goes past 90.
The knees are similar to mine in that they don't hold up very well.
For the feet, we do get a pivot inwards, and we can move this as part of the transformation. Now onto the accessory of the figure, we do get his battle axe, and I really love the way this looks. The translucent blue is super nice along with the gray paint and the red molded plastic.
The shaft area is a little bit bulky in my opinion, and at first glance you might think it goes for girth instead of length. However, it is possible to further erect, just like how it is in the show, and my penis.
So that way he can now properly hold it. You can also place this on the back of the figure for some weapon storage. Size-wise, here he is next to Legacy Armada Optimus, Studio Series 1 and 2, and the Volvo Optimus.
Also, I did want to mention, just like my Sanity, this back piece can be a little loose and detach at times. Transforming this figure is fairly simple.
The first thing I like to do is come to the arms, bring this down, and then flip in the hands and close that back up. We're going to want to do the same thing over here on this side and close that back up. Next, we can come down to the feet and pull both of them out. We're then going to want to grab this section up here from the top and then pull that out. This was a little bit difficult for me to do the first time around, and it can just kind of be stuck in there.
From the underneath, let's connect the legs together.
So now with these parts of the legs, we're just going to leave this down here so it doesn't get in our way. So we can take this front section of the chest, and this can be kind of a pain to take off, but we need to bring it up like so, and then come over to this back side, untab that, and bring that up as well. Now we can take these pieces and bring them out on both sides of the figure, take this upper chest section and bring it up like so. We do need to rotate this top section around, and as you can see, it is kind of popping out there already, so I like to hold it down and push it in while I rotate this around. Take the rest of the legs and then bring them in and slotting them into place. Same over here with this side, slot that into place.
Readjust the legs.
Take the feet and then flip them over, and this needs to tap into those slots, so do that.
Do the same here and make sure it's pushed in.
Now we're going to want to take the arms of the figure and we're going to bend them in, and this tabs into there. So go ahead and tab that in.
And do the same for this arm. We can bring this chest piece up here. Rotate this arm to where it's facing around this way.
Grab this from here and then just shift it up like so.
And this tab needs to be underneath.
Same thing for the one on this side. Make sure this is rotated like so.
Hold on to this as we shift this up and in. Make sure that's tabbed in. We can now finally bring up the chest piece to form the front of the truck mode. Make sure everything is aligned in there. Lastly, we can take this back piece to form the top section of the truck mode. And let's fix the legs to make sure they're properly in place.
Here's the vehicle mode, and the front part of it looks pretty accurate to the animated show.
Now right away, I am having a bit of trouble getting some of the pieces of the figure to tab into place properly for the vehicle mode.
They always seem to loosen up for some reason, which can be kind of annoying. This top section doesn't seem to want to stay fully down sometimes. The shape and angles all seem to be replicated well. His lights are more visible up at the top now,
and I do quite like some of the detail up around here.
This gray piece is inward like it's supposed to be. This gray section, however, seems to be a little off. It feels like it's a bit more bulky than it should be. All the color inaccuracies in the robot mode, mainly the arms, don't seem to be too bad now because they shine in the vehicle mode.
The truck bed though is kind of where it falls apart. This always feels like it's a thing with truck modes on Optimus Prime figures. It is mainly the feet, and if you wanted to, you could take them off, making the trailer look a lot cleaner. I'm too lazy to show that off right now. Now there's probably a reason as to why they've done this.
They might end up releasing this figure with a proper fire truck trailer, and then that would mean you would have to buy this figure again if you wanted that. But also now a third-party company could release an extra add-on attachment for this.
But with this, he can carry 2 trailers now.
So I'm going to reserve those complaints for now. The figure does roll pretty decently, so that is nice. Overall, it's a pretty fun figure, not fully accurate to the original toy,
but accurate enough to where it still looks good. So this Optimus Prime, he just turns into a cell phone. The box art is fairly simple, just a bunch of colored patterns. Same on the top, side, other side, bottom, back. Now let's open it up.
It is very tight in there.
Ooh. Some nice little ASMR. So in the packaging comes the figure itself. Inside this you get what are basically extra wallpaper pieces to replace what's in here, and this one fell down.
An instruction manual.
And I love how it looks like an actual phone instruction manual,
but it's really just instructions on how to transform the figure. And you do... That fell straight out of my hand. And you do get this. We'll take a look at that later.
Now back to the figure. No, it's not a real working cell phone. Remember, you gotta keep your expectations low with me. That's what it says on my Tinder profile. It wouldn't be possible with this being a transforming figure.
The back of it is just plain red. You have these here to resemble a speaker. You get what would be the camera right over here. This is just a sticker though. I'm loving the classic cell phone antenna that sticks out. A little lock slider. A fake speaker up here at the front.
Basic text on the top and on the phone screen with the Autobot insignia. In my opinion, I don't really like the way the insignia looks.
Camera button over here.
here, little D-pad.
All the other keys on the keypad are done really nicely. Not sure what this car symbol is for.
It is very much like having a Japanese replica phone. It really frustrates me that none of the keys are pressable. It's teasing me, it's blue balling me. But the keypad does look nice. Cell phone toys with pressable buttons are really fun. For example, this Gokaiger Mobirate. All the buttons are pressable. Also, fun fact, this was one of my first reviews on this channel.
Well, technically, these were my first reviews many years ago, but you'll never see them, ever. At the bottom, nothing much. You got this area where the headphone jack would be.
It says Infobar at this side.
On this side, you get mail and memo buttons that double as the volume keys. Not entirely sure what the Z stands for, but this is also probably the mute button, judging by, that.
I love how it has these little spots for like where the LEDs would be also.
At first glance, this does really pass as an actual cell phone.
You couldn't really tell it's a Transformers figure.
At least not from the front. From the back, yeah, you can tell. It is a fairly cool looking product. Now for some history on it. This is a downscaled replica of the AU Infobar released in 2003, originally designed by Naoto Fukusawa, I hope I said that right, made possible through a crowdfunding campaign and released in 2017. There are also Megatron and Bumblebee variations of the figure.
By the way, leave a comment down below letting me know what your first cell phone was. I swear to God, none of you better say iPhone, otherwise I will feel old. My first cell phone was a flip Samsung phone. I'll see if I can try to find a picture of it online. So this is a phone stand. It's got the Autobot insignia and the text over there. It opens this way, and you just place the phone on there. You gotta do it correctly. There.
And there are some notches so you can adjust it to your liking. This is also meant to be used for an actual phone.
Now before we transform this, here's a better look at those wallpapers. You have one with Optimus Prime, one with the Autobot insignia, cool. And I don't know what this is supposed to resemble. Maybe like the inside of the phone. It says Transformers Technology. I don't know what this is supposed to... Anyways,
to get these cardboard pieces in, you do kind of need to partially untransform the figure. There is also some stuff going on the inside here. It says Energon Power, which is really cool, along with an Autobot insignia at the top left. There is also some really cool extra detail in here to represent the circuitry of an actual phone.
It's a little tricky to take out, but you just slide it out, and you can put another one in there, if my hand-eye coordination works.
Wow, this is the most amazing thing ever.
The Autobot insignia one, and this one, which I still don't know what it's supposed to resemble exactly. Now, there are versions of this figure that do have a Bluetooth functionality,
but this one does not, and that made me really sad and want to put myself in God's recycle bin.
The ones that do have it, all it does is give you phone notifications. I believe the LEDs light up. I'm not entirely sure if it makes sounds or anything, but anyways, let's move on to the transformation. The first thing you want to do is pull out the arms a bit, and then turn the figure over to the back, take this, and then bring it down. And then transforming this figure is kind of scary because I feel like some of the parts do feel kind of fragile, and I had to force it a little bit at first. Next, we'll undo the legs, move these arms and flip them all the way there, bring them up a bit, so that way we can bring the legs out a bit more. And this part does need to be taken out because this does become a cool accessory for the figure, which I'll show later. Bring down the legs all the way, bring the feet out, same with this one, bring the feet in there, same here. Take this crotch piece and then bring it in over there. Let's rotate the legs around, bring this back, open this section, so that way we can bring the head out and close it back. Now we can adjust the arms into place, and there is our Infobar Optimus Prime. And yeah, it does look kind of atrocious, but it is still kind of neat. Like design-wise, it's a huge mess, but there are parts of it that's still cool. The head sculpt on this figure looks really good, I think. The head is very stylized. It does look kind of anime-like. Some nice silver paint at the top and for the mouthpiece. He's got the classic bunny ears. He does have his blue eyes. They're kind of hard to see though. Down to the chest piece, you got the Autobot insignia there, and a lot of circuitry design going on throughout here. I think it looks really cool. Some nice silver for the abdomen area. The arms do look pretty atrocious, but I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do. You can see some detail throughout over here. The rest of the arms are pretty basic. I do wish these pieces could like rotate and move out of the way because I do feel like it hinders the arms. And I do want to point out the design of the hands is pretty decent. Each individual finger does have some detail on it. The legs do have a nice sculpt to them, and I like the little designs it has. This part is silver paint, and then this seems to be just a molded plastic. Simple blue crotch piece with silver paint. You can't see some designs on it. It's kind of hard to make out. The legs is pretty much the bottom part of the phone and the keypad.
There does seem to be a tiny design inside the legs, but nothing too crazy.
Unfortunately, the leg joints on this figure aren't super solid. They're kind of loose. And then the feet, I think, look kind of hideous. Once again, the silver paint is nice, but the rest of it doesn't look too great. I do like how the antenna sticks out over here. I do feel like there's a missed opportunity of having this be some kind of accessory for the figure, which the figure does come with one accessory, and I'll show that in a second. Turn the figure over to the back. You pretty much have the entire screen section of the phone. It does look pretty hideous, I think, but there's not really much else you could have done with it. Maybe it would be cool if this became a shield for him. We can bring it up and have a better look at the back of the figure. And once again, here's a better look at this section that I showed earlier. Design-wise, I mean, it doesn't look the best, but it is a cool novelty. Now for size comparisons, here he is next to Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime, my music label Soundwave. This is a functional MP3 player, and I have done a video on it, so go check that out. The Buff Pikachu. And the alien attack optional girl. Oh my god, look, they're holding hands. For articulation, the head can move up and down. You do get a rotation. I'm having difficulty getting a full 360 and I'm not going to force it. These arms are on a hinge joint over here so they can move up and down. You do get a full 360 rotation. The arms can move out, bicep rotation, and elbow bend. These hands are on a hinge joint and can move. The waist can rotate a full 360, which is cool. The legs can move forward. They can move back around there before this gets in the way. If we do move it out of the way, it can move further back. A pretty good knee bend that goes past 90 degrees. A rotation, no foot rotation, and it's kind of hard to get a foot pivot.
Minus the feet, the leg articulation is pretty good.
Now for his accessory, the part that we had to take out becomes a little flip phone for him, and I think it's kind of cute.
Let's take a selfie because I love you all.
And I think there's some writing on there. It's very hard to see.
I'll try to zoom in on it in editing. All right, let's get ready. Zoom, enhance, sharpen image, denoise, add sunglasses. Okay, now put it in space. Zoom in again, rotate the image upside down, rotate it again, zoom out, low res it, pixelate it more, caramel dancing filter. Good, perfect. Now turn the phone into a spaceship. Zoom in. What is that there? Zoom out, further, further. No, wait, we can't show that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that legible. If anyone can make out what it says, leave a comment below. He can hold his phone if we bring out the hands all the way, which by the way, moving these fingers is really scary. I'm very afraid of breaking this figure because it does feel a little bit fragile, but we can put it in his hand and he can hold it with a pretty loose grip, and then you can bring it up to him and have it be like he's taking a call.
So no head?
Now there is storage for it. If we close it up, it does go in right over there. It is kind of tricky to do, and the connection isn't super solid.
Wait, don't look at my browsing history.
What the fuck is this?
And since there aren't many videos of this figure, let's do a reverse transformation. First, let's bring out the head, split it in half, put it back in so that way we can bring it back up. Come down to the legs and bring these back into position. Bring the feet back in. Take this crotch section and bring it out. Move these hands out of the way. Bring this back section all the way up like that. Now we're going to flip these arms around and don't put them in just yet. We're going to bring in the feet first. Bring that in and then bring that down. Bring this back section up, and I totally forgot. Let's open that up so that way we can bring the cell phone accessory in. And you want to line up this piece with that over there. It's kind of hard to see, but it goes in like that in there and close it in place. And that's how you transform him back.
It's a neat novelty and an okay figure.